Welcome back to Country Basket Weaving. I'm your hostess, Sandy Atkinson. Today we're honoring the month of July, and I have created a 4th of July picnic basket for you. This has a lining on the top, and if we take it apart inside, you'll see that there's another lining inside of the basket. The material and cut pattern for this basket is as follows. You're going to need 1/2 inch flat, cut 26 pieces 33 inches long. Leave 8 natural and dye 18 of those pieces navy blue. 1/2 inch flat natural, that's for weavers. 1/2 inch flat dyed scarlet red. Number 2 round dyed the scarlet red, and 3/16 flat dyed scarlet red also. You will need 5/8 inch flat oval, dye that navy blue. You'll need 4 to 5 millimeter cane, 1 square notched handle with center grip, a 13 inch span and 7 inches high from the notch. 2 sets of skids with screws, navy creative twist, 4 heart cutouts with slits or holes, and 2 21 by 21 inch matching scarves. Before you start your layout, take your handle, and I'd like to see you sand it. Most handles come fine sanded, but it doesn't hurt to give them a little touch up. Sand it all over, and then I like to put on a handle finishing oil. And I just take an old t-shirt and add some to it and rub it on the handle. It'll give your handle a nice gloss to it also. And I think it'll make a real pretty handle for you. So take time to do that. On the layout, I've already went ahead and done the layout, but let me remind you how to mark your centers. The centers are marked on the wrong side of the reed. That's the rough side. Line up your ends. Draw your finger up here and just put a pencil mark across the center top. And you need to do that especially when you're first starting out, to get everything laid up and lined up really nice. You're going to lay under the tips underneath the spoke weight. You're going to lay a 1/2 inch piece and 3 of the navy blues, a natural, 3 navy blues, natural, 3 navy blues, and a natural. Then starting in the middle, and here's the middle here that I laid out on first. This is a navy blue going right through the middle, following those guidelines, those pencil marks. Then on either side you're going to lay a navy blue. And these are spaced about 1/4 inch apart. Then going up, again it's the same pattern. You have 3 navy blue, a natural, 3 navy blue, and a natural. And coming down this way is the same way. Here's my natural and my 3 navy blue. I'm ready now to work in my last piece. And that's just an over-under basic basket weave. Here's my center mark here. I'm lining it up. It'll be right underneath my center navy blue, and just draw it up in there. Again, about 1/4 inch spacing between them. Your base measurement at this point needs to be 11 1/4 by 11 1/4. So just take and do a measurement here. I'm about 1/4 inch too long, and this way I've already checked, so I know I'm okay. So I'm going to just pull these in a little bit until I reach that 11 1/4 measurement. Then I'm going to use clothespins and clamp the 4 corners, and this will hold everything together until I have that base row on there that'll stabilize it. I'm using the number 2 round dyed red, and I have a long piece. I always like to start with long pieces. Take my needle nose pliers, and I'm going to put a crimp on it. And that will help that bend without breaking it. And I have 2 different end lengths. That's kind of important on the end, so you end at different times. Starting up here, and again I always like to start under an underweave, I'm just going to do a basic twine. The one on the left goes behind the next spoke, then this one becomes my left, goes behind. Again, the left. When I come to the corner, take your corner off. Remember, you have regular corners, irregular corners also. This is an irregular. See how it slides down in there? I want to lock it in place, so I'm coming to get my left one, taking it around first, and then bring my other piece over. Continue right on that pattern. Work this around for 3 rows, and I'll go ahead and do that. When you have your 3 rows done, I'll just show you quickly how to end it. Actually, I started on this spoke here, so I want to end on the one before it. Just bring your ends to the center and cut them off. Leave about a couple inches on there. We'll go back later and trim those off. Then you're going to upset all your spokes, and that's simply bending all the spokes up. Again, you'll hear a crack on there. It's not breaking if it's good and wet. Make sure you keep your basket good and wet. Take your 4 corners, clamp up your 4 corners. I use clothespins. I've already bent these up already, so that's why they're going up so easy for me. Now, starting on the side, I'm going to pick the basket up. Starting on its side, I'm going to weave a row with a 1/2 inch flat, and I want to make sure that my right side is out. I need to come back and weave it opposite of this bottom row here. So I'm under this spoke. I know I'll need to be over that one. And I like to back weave. I just think it's a little bit easier to back weave at the start and put a clamp on here and weave this over and under. Take your clothespin off your corner, go around the corner, keep it nice and smooth and follow the shape of the basket as you go around that corner and put a clamp on it. Then continue. That's a little bit tight, so give it just a little bit more room there. Continue weaving all the way around the basket. I went ahead and put my second row in. I did my first row. My second row is again the 1/2 inch flat in the natural, and I wanted to show you quickly how to end it. Remember, we always start on top, as I have done here. I'm on top of this spoke. I'm going to weave over 4, counting the spoke I started on. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes I go ahead and measure the end across to that 4th one and get rid of this excess length. Then I come back and weave this one right on top of the original where I started. And then I like to use a couple of clothespins and clothespin everything down. Pack your rows down in, have them butt up to each other nice and tight. Now we're going to do 3 rows of twining, triple twine, and I've used triple twine a lot this series, but it's so pretty. And all these beautiful colors that we're using, it just stands out so nice. Taking 3 different ends, inserting them in between 3 consecutive spokes. I hold it in the back with my finger back here, and I pick up the far left piece of twine, go over in front of 2, behind the 3rd, and back out. Pack everything down tight. Again, pick up the far left, in front of 2, behind the 3rd, and out to the outside. Once I have done 3 of these, then I've pretty well locked in those ends and I can let go of them. Again, the far one on the left, in front of 2, behind the 3rd. Your ends are going to tangle because of the length. Take off your clothespin, go around your corner, and go ahead and do 3 rows of the triple twine. I have that next one done here. And again, I re-wet it, kept everything nice and wet. And now we're going to start our French randing. And that's this pattern up the side that I created. Let me reach over here and get some of my... I usually work from just a long length of the red 3/16 flat dyed reed. I'm going to start anywhere behind a spoke, weaving it in front of the next, and behind, in front, and I'm going to angle this up so that I'm not right along this row here, but I'm actually angling up, and I'm going to do it over 8 spokes. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I'm going to go behind the 9th, and I'm going to just cut that end a little bit long for right now because I can go back later and trim it. Again, I'm going to start here. This is where I started the first one. The second one's going to the spoke to the left of it, behind that spoke, over and under, and over and under for 8 spokes, ending behind the 9th and cutting that end. Now, as I go up, I do need to keep these rows packed in tight, but see the angle I'm creating? This is called French randing, and it's a really pretty pattern up the side of a basket. I like to lock French randing in place with some twining, and I'm going to cut the end. Continue this all the way around the basket. When you get back to where you started, it'll be tight in here, and I'll show you how to end it. Now that I've gone ahead and I'm back to almost where I began here, it's hard for me to get into here because these are already woven up here on top. There's 2 ways. I can either come in and work this back and forth with shorter pieces, or I think an easier way to do it is simply to unweave some of these very first ends that I started with, and then I'll just weave them back in. I think that's easier. Again, here I am, and I'm going to go over and under. I've cut out some short pieces just to help me do this quicker. And again, I'm here. I've unwoven that. I'm weaving up the side and behind that 9th spoke. I can go back and cut them later. Again, I'm going to have to unweave a little bit more here. And I'm coming in here. I'm almost to the last spoke. I have one more to do. This is the last one here because this is where I started, right here. And I'm going to insert it down in there and bring it back up. My reed is nice and wet. See how pliable it is? Then I can finish weaving these out. And behind that 9th one. Now come back here and starting on the bottom and working up, I'm just going to reweave these back in, and they'll fall right into place. If I've gotten the correct number across doing it around, then I should fall one right after another. Then you can go back and just straighten everything out, pack it all down tight, make sure there's no big gaps or anything in your weaving. And one more, and there I've got it done. And again, just go back, here's a gap here, pull these down, check it all the way around, make sure everything's fit in tight. Then I have 3 more rows of triple twine on top of this randing. But can you see that pattern is that it's a diagonal weave there? It's a very pretty weave. After you have your 3 rows finished, here I have my diagonal or my French randing, and then I have my 3 rows of triple twine. I've done 2 more rows of 1/2 inch flat, and I threw in a 1/2 inch red here of the flat, just a nice accent piece, and 2 more rows of the 1/2 inch flat woven in just a basic pattern. Then it's time to cut and tuck the whole top. I've left 2 to do for you. I have the rest of them done. Go ahead and re-wet the basket, make sure it's nice and wet. If the weaver, let me turn it around this way, if the weaver comes in front of the spoke as it does on this one, that spoke is going to get cut off even with the top of the basket, or I like to sink it in a little bit and go just below that row. And then this one, because the weaver goes behind, I am going to bend and tuck down inside the basket. And here I'm tucking into my red row, so I have lots of length here. Go ahead and cut off that length using a tool. Pick up the red row and just slide that right down in there and push, give it a little push, and then you have your tuck and cutting done. Now that I've finished my tucking and cutting, I'm taking my rim, and what I did when I put this rim into the dye pot, I let it soak extra long, hoping that the dye would penetrate down into the fibers, and I think we accomplished that. I'm going to start here for about 3 inches, and I'm going to whittle this off, and you can see there's some dye down in there deeper, and that'll help hide some of the whiteness on here. Taking this piece here, I'm going to clamp it on around the rim of the basket. Use as many clothespins as you need to get it to stay on there pretty sturdy. When you get back to where you started, this is where I started my whittling up here, so this is where I need to cut this off here. I like to cut it at an angle. That helps hide, again, that light edge. Then I use my sharp knife. Back here is the end of my whittling, so I'm going to mark it kind of just by my finger and pull this end back and whittle off the back side. The reason we whittle off the back side is to get that to lay flat against itself. I have a pretty dull knife here. Okay, then bring it back around and see how nicely that lays against itself. We need to repeat the same step on the inside of the basket. Again, whittling off the end and placing it opposite. This one I placed here. This one I'm going to place on the opposite side. and I'll get the next basket. Now that I've finished putting on my inside rim, I have to insert my notched handle. This is where I have done my overlaps, so I want to go to the opposite side. It's just too much bulk there to try to put the handle in the same spot. Finding your center spoke, which is real easy to find on this one because it's my center blue one here, because I have a nice pattern built into the bottom. I am going to take off a clamp, insert one end of the handle. First I need to check and make sure this handle isn't too long. Sometimes this part comes too long to fit down into the basket, and I see that mine is. So usually you can just take your scissors, a good pair of sharp scissors, and cut off about what you need, and I figured I need about a 1/2 inch give on either side. That one cut real easy. Sometimes you'll need to use a little heavier scissor. Now that I have measured that, taking a tool, I'm going to come in, first of all, underneath my rim here. Then I need to catch this handle in somewhere in here, and I think I will come right down. If I can't catch it down here, it's too long, so I'm going to have to catch it down in here. Let's catch it right here on this row of natural weave. Insert it down into there. I really didn't want to insert it down into my French randing, but I could if I had to. It's just that it's an uneven weave. And I'm going to catch it down into my twining on the bottom row and keep pushing that in until it clicks, and you'll hear it click up here. And what it is, this rim right here is resting on that notch, and once we do the lashing, that will hold that in there. Go to the other side, and you're going to repeat that same step, finding that center spoke. My weave over here is different. It's not really. I'm going to pick up that one right there and go ahead and insert that down in there the same way we did the other side. Now that my rim is on and my handle is inserted, I'm going to take out my caning. I like to put an angle on my cane end so that it'll go up in there easy. And here is my handle and my rim, so I'm going to kind of start in here in the middle between them. This is the right side of my cane. You can tell because it's the shiny side. It faces the basket, coming under the inside rim up from the bottom, and I'm going to circle and go down. Then take that same end on the outside, and I'm going to open up the spot under the rim here between my 2 rows of weaving and insert that end back towards the middle and come in here and pull it. Repeat that step one more time, up from the bottom up and down. If I was to take that rim off, all I've done is circled around the basket, and that will lock that in. I'm going to go ahead and put a clamp back on here to hold it. Bring this from the inside out, and you can see that now the right side of my cane is showing, and that's what I want. Straighten all this end out, get the kinks out of it, and put another point on it. Come over here, and again you'll need a tool, and I'm going to open up between the 2 rows and slide my caning in there. And that slides to the inside. I like to bring my end up about 20 inches or so and go ahead and insert it a couple more times over. In between a couple more rows. I'm always between that top row and the second row of my weavers. Now I'm going to stop, and this is my Creative Twist, and it's already dyed navy blue. You can purchase it from your favorite craft shop that way. Insert it right in between. You're going to sandwich it between your 2 rims. Use some clothespins to hold it. And go ahead and pull this end here. That was the first end I put in. Give it a tug, and that will hold that in. And go ahead and complete the lashing all around the basket. When you come to the handles, don't forget to cross on the outside, because that cross is important. It holds it in tight. It's going to lock all this in, as I did on this one here. See how I've crossed here? In fact, I crossed a couple of times on here, just more decorative, but that cross is important. to lock this all in tight. When you have your lashing done, well, let me move this aside here. You're going to end the lashing the very same way that you started it, in the very same spot. And yes, it's tight in there. Use your tool to get down in there. When you're going back across, make sure that you gently pick up your creative twist in here and slide it underneath, because we don't want that to show or to be several loops on one end. So hide that underneath. When you have that done, then you need to shape your basket. And to shape my basket, I got it very wet. I let it soak a couple of minutes on each side. Again, try not to get your handle wet. And then I find the center point in here, pardon me, not the center point, I find the corner point in here. And I come up here and I cut my hands and I put a good sturdy bend on there. Do the same thing over there. Then when I have it bent and it's good and wet, I simply cut my hands and hold it for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, something like that. Just hold it in tight like that and it will square out. Do that to all four corners. When you have that done, we need to put our skids on. And here are our skids. You need two sets. One comes with a hole for the screw and the other one comes plain. The screwed one, the one on here, goes on top inside the basket. And you can see where I have laid my first skid in here. I laid it on the third spoke in on both sides. The bottom one is on the same spoke on the bottom. Then you simply use your little wood screws and screw in right through the reed into the skid on the bottom, and you need to do one skid on each side. That will help protect the bottom as you use your basket. Now to add the scarves. On this one I've done some red scarves. On the other one you noticed I used some navy blue, so just pick out a pretty color that you like. These edges are serged. They could be a rolled edge, however you prefer to do it. And I went ahead and made these. I just found some pretty fabric. If you can find some scarves, that's great. You don't have to do the work, but otherwise they're very easy to make. Using a tool, find my tool here. Here it is. You're going to open up right above the corner, right at the corner. I'm opening up a space between the first row and the second row, taking a corner with the right side up. We want the fabric right side up. Slide it through that spot and pick it up on the other side and bring it through. Repeat this at all four corners. And we're going to pull that through. While you're, before you do this, of course, you'll want to go in and do all that trimming on your basket on the inside and on the bottom. Get all those loose edges trimmed, and remember we angle cut those. Then I take the second scarf and I'm going to lay it across the top. And here I have some heart cutouts. It would also be really cute to use some star cutouts, I think, too, for this basket. And I simply put in one corner and one slit or hole, whichever ways yours come, and put in the other one. And then I just tie the first part of tying your shoes, that part, I just tie that right there, and that will hold everything together. And what's nice about this also is that you can take this out and you can wash them, throw them in the wash and iron them, keep them nice and clean. It lines the bottom of your basket. It's really a fun basket to make. I've enjoyed working with you. Go ahead and add your four corners. Next week we're going to be working on our back to school tote. August, I don't know if you know this, but there's no holiday in August except back to school, and I don't know if the kids would really think that was a holiday or not. But anyway, we're going to work on our back to school tote. It's a plaid, and we've got shaker tape handles. I look forward to working with you next week. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you back. Bye-bye.